We're honored to welcome Keith Wilson, Director of Cybersecurity Education at Attack IQ and a valued partner of VTF University. As an AI subject matter expert, Keith will share insights from his free course, Foundations of AI Security, available at Attack IQ Academy. Please join me in welcoming Keith.
You know, it's been something that has been blowing up over the last couple of years. I mean, I don't know how you can be in technology and not know about AI. But even people that aren't in technology are hearing about it, right? Mostly through the large language models and the advances that we've seen with those. But something to keep in mind that your audience should keep in mind as we're going through this is like AI isn't new. It's been around for a while. It's just really ramped up in terms of its abilities and what it can do in more recent times.
Yeah, and recently you actually published entire course, I think for 5 hours or 6 hours course, Foundations of AI Security on Attack IQ Academy, right?
Yeah, well, it's been out. Believe it or not, I couldn't believe this. It's been out for almost a year now.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
but it's still it's a popular course, but it can be more popular, right? Still think there's a lot of people out there that don't know that we have this course, and there's a lot of people out there that are in security that are trying to go, okay, how do I wrap my mind around this new AI thing? So that's kind of what I try to do with this course, and that's within the run time of it's about 6 hours, but in reality, it's going to take you about a week to finish, right? Um, but what I wanted to do is give people that are in security or at least in technology kind of this overview of what's there, what isn't there, and what the frameworks are that exist that can help us.
Yeah, and for our listeners, we will post the URL in the comments here as well. And for all VTF members, you will be able to enroll it and earn one CPE certificate as well as you go through for today's session. And if you take Keith's entire course, obviously you will get a certificate and badge from Attack IQ as well.
Yeah, the course is worth. I don't know the time off my head, so whatever the time is, like 5.5 hours, 6 hours, something like that. It's worth 5.5 CPEs or 6 CPEs. So the course itself will give you a good amount of
Nice.
CPEs in it. Victor, before we start talking about this more, I'm curious. Whenever I kick off a conversation with AI, I'd like to have this conversation either with the audience or the person that I'm talking to.
Yeah.
What was your moment with AI where you go, "Oh crap, this is really cool. This is big. This is gonna do some really cool stuff."
This is gonna sound rehearsed, but I promise you it's not. It was literally about a year and a half ago, around 9 p.m. I got a text from a friend who is a registered nurse. So he's an RN. He texts me, he knows I'm in cybersecurity, IT, and he texts me, he's like, "Hey, have you seen this application called ChatGPT where you can just ask any question and it'll spit out an answer?" And I was like, "No, I haven't. I don't know what you're talking about." So he sent me this screenshot of the first generation of ChatGPT where you could literally ask any question and it'll give you a response. And that was the first time it was almost like a waking up moment where I was like, this is the new reality where you can interact with the machine, like where you can ask any question, it'll spit out an answer, it'll give you some response. And from there, I started learning and researching a lot more about AI. And that was the first moment when I realized that this is here to stay. This is almost like a dot-com era. This is like an internet era where something new is happening in technology and AI is the new thing.
It is. I mean, so much so that we're seeing companies like Microsoft buy retired, shut down nuclear power plants so that they can build their own power plants to power their AI data centers. Um, And what I think the craziest thing is, and that's where we get to what we're showing. Let me do this, showing on the screen over here. Is we're really only in this first phase of AI, this ANI or artificial narrow intelligence phase of AI, right? So this is something that's still kind of new for us. We haven't even, I've heard chatter, and it makes for good clickbait headlines and things like that for OpenAI, where they talk about, oh, we're going to reach GAI or general AI this year, or we're going to do it within the next. And the reality is they're not as close to general AI, the true definition of general AI, as they would like you to believe, which is probably a good thing. Right there, when we don't have time to get into every aspect of this on the call today, but there's a lot of um, there's a lot of reasons to press the pause button on it, or not the pause button, but maybe tap the brakes on AI a bit as we try and wrap some guardrails and security around it. Again, I'm the type of person that likes to see progress, particularly in technology, so I don't want to handicap AI too much, right? But at the same time, we got to make sure it's safe, because as you start to dig into this, it can do some crazy things when you start having a thought experiment around it, right? So even just with AI, right? Even with artificial narrow intelligence, we're seeing people build. This is going to be a term you're going to hear a lot this year in 2025. Agentic, right? Agentic frameworks where they've got multiple agents that are talking to each other, or swarms of agents that are talking to each other, and those agents are very specialized, and they have access to the internet or access to very special tools. Well, what this does is it moves them somewhere between ANI and general AI, but it's still very, very specific in what they do.
Okay, that's something, and again, for those who haven't heard a whole lot about AI, which I don't believe, I think everybody at this point have heard or used or one way or the other considered AI. But primarily, there are two camps of AI the way I see it right now. One is where whatever I'm doing today in my professional or personal life, I'm using Gen AI, and the other camp is where they're actually trying to use AI to expedite the process of those repetitive tasks or some sort of analytics, especially in the field of intelligence, especially in the field of healthcare. Now they're trying to predict a lot of those things that was not possible with the human actually looking at the anomalies and things. I think that's where I see it. There are companies like Microsoft who are trying to pretty much like win that race. But I think again, this is all like version one of, if you will, the AI. I think in 10 years we'll see an evolution, and we'll see, just like internet, just like dot-com era, we'll see the problems, but also we'll see the regulations, we'll see the security aspects of it as well, that we don't see it a whole lot right now.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I think we're going to see security aspects to secondary. We'll have to look at security aspects that I don't even get into in this course, to like almost secondary ripple effects from this, right? Good example is cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is big and getting bigger, and the more it gets deregulated or gets the nod to go on with certain things, or gets legal approval for different things, the bigger that's going to get. But something else that's fueling that is AI. There's a lot of AI generated or based meme coins or meme tokens, or even I can't really get in any, or can't think of any specific examples, and it's kind of out of the course of this. But I think that's going to make that industry get bigger, which means now security is going to have more of a focus on that as well. So we'll see secondary ripple effects from this, not just AI security.
Yeah, and I think again, with an AI right now, obviously there's a lot of misuse of the term as well, from the cybersecurity community to even for the, if you actually walk into the aisles of supermarket these days, a lot of those things. And again, I know we all have seen those memes, but toothbrush powered by AI or something like that. Like those are the things that you kind of cringe, and you're like, how is this an AI? But anyways, the point is that right now, anybody and everybody using an AI as to market their product. But I think eventually it's going to come to the point where it's like we're going to have a clear definition of, like, if you want to use an AI or powered by AI, or AI is part of your product, what does that really mean? Because otherwise it's just going to be a disinformation of the actual content everywhere.
Sure. So maybe before we go any further, we talk to your interns here about the different types of AI, and I've got them up on the screen. So we've got ANI, which we've kind of talked about. That's artificial narrow intelligence. It's limited in what it's trained in. But I mean, this could be, and I've even got it on another slide here. This could be, just machinery that is artificially intelligent, that has artificial intelligence capabilities to build cars, right? To put the rivets in cars. It's got a camera that can analyze and it can go, okay, it needs to do this, 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 and this. And then it's got a machine arm that does those things, but it can only do that thing. Large language models, same way, right? Like we can talk to each other in large language models. They really don't do much. That's the only one out of the three of these that aren't theoretical at this point. The other two, general AI, not to be confused with generative AI. So when we say generative AI, we're talking about things like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Claude, the from Anthropic, the different chat, almost the chat things, large language models, and there's other things that large language models are being utilized for as well. Just we know them best from the chat models that we're seeing. Um, they're looking to go beyond just chatting, though, right? They're looking to do where I can give it a task. And the reason they can't do this with large language models yet is because the amount of knowledge they'd have to. This is again why it's so expensive to run AI, so expensive to power AI. The amount of knowledge and points that they're trained on, that the processing power is needed to look up, is insane, right? Which is handicap to general AI. But again, it's all trained on a specific set of data, no matter how large or small that data is when we're talking about artificial narrow intelligence. When we're talking about general AI, it's no longer, okay, well, it was trained on this model in, you know, 2020. And so you can only get answers up to 2020. No. Now it's whatever, and it's trained itself, and it's continuing to train itself. And it has access to be able to do multiple things, which AI can do now. You can give it access to different tools and things like that. But you don't necessarily have to continue to train these large language models. And then super AI is where we start talking about cognitive abilities that are beyond human ability. Um, we're talking about tackling, and here I've got global challenges. So think things like climate change, right? Where we could take all of the emotion, all the politics out of climate change and hand over the problem to a super AI that is able to process and analyze things that we can't yet, or discover things that we don't even know that exist yet, right? Um, and I was just talking to somebody. I think it was my dentist. His brother does encryption or something like that, and I was joking with him about how encryption's a weak spot for me, and it is. And he brought up the one thing that he'd heard recently about encryption, that's quantum being able to break encryption. But I would argue that general AI or super AI could also break that encryption, right? So those are even potentially ANI at a certain point if you've got a highly enough trained model, although they are finding they're kind of plateauing with the models here. Um, so that's another aspect of security that I don't even cover in this course, is trying to think of ways that these things are going to be abused to pull off different things.
So, Keith, one of the questions that we get from our interns a whole lot, where this is great. What past 2 years have brought new information about AI, the use cases about AI, and everybody's using AI. And a lot of times people consider AI as again chatbots and LLMs. They just think that's the limit of AI. But I'm grateful that you're actually shedding the light into something beyond that LLM and ANI. One question we get this a lot, where is AI going to reduce the amount of people need to do the job? Because at the end of the day, that's the one use case that everybody talks about, right? Where if I'm using AI, I can streamline this task and the machine can run this task or predict the problems and fix it on the fly. I do not need human. So our
Yeah,
our audience is always asking this question, that should we switch careers? Should we look for something else? Should we not get into this line because there's not going to be a whole lot of jobs in this industry anymore, or any industry for that matter?
yeah. So I mean, that's kind of a nihilistic way to look at it, right? Is like, well, AI is just going to take over everything, so I might as well not even try. And I think you would be that would work against you, right? Especially like if you have a pretty good familiarity with AI, you know it's not there yet. It's not even close yet, right? In terms of replacing a lot of different people. Will there be jobs replaced by AI? Absolutely. 100%, certainly. Um, it's going to happen. But is it going to happen tomorrow? No. Is it even going to happen this year? No. I mean, think about some of the dumb answers that you get from AI. Think about the hallucinations you get from AI. I remember one of my favorite screenshots from ChatGPT is somebody asking, like, what mammal lays the largest egg? And then ChatGPT proceeded to argue with them that um, elephants lay the largest eggs. And mammals don't lay eggs, right? But Chat and we see this along in a lot of models, at least what I've noticed too. I haven't done any scientific studies on this, but they tend to lean towards well, they're deceptive in the fact that they tend to lead towards coercion and telling you what you want to hear, right? So if the AI model thinks that you want to hear that mammals lay eggs because you're asking it specifically what mammal lays the largest egg, and it doesn't do this anymore. So if you try it with the newer models, it's not going to do this. They fixed this particular thing. Um, but it thinks you want to hear, oh well, mammals want to lay you want that you already know that mammals lay eggs. You just want to know what the largest one is. So it's going to pick, well, the largest mammal is an elephant. It's going to what they call hallucinate this. The largest mammal is an elephant, therefore the largest mammal lays the largest egg that a mammal lays is an elephant's egg, which again isn't true because elephants don't lay eggs. But it was leaning towards what you wanted to hear. Um, Again, they fixed that, so it's incremental in what they do. But I can tell you, every AI project that I start, I get to a certain point, and I've started dozens of them at this point, different little Python projects and stuff like that, and different agentic projects and stuff like that. But you always get to a point, it's usually a couple hours in, where you go, oh yeah, this isn't viable for business. It's not accurate. It's too expensive to run. There's no accountability. So there's a lot of things in AI now that are a problem. So that's one point. Another point is like AI is still going to need people to secure AI, right? And this notion of AI security is still a relatively new one. I would encourage your interns that are going through now to start exploring what startups are. And I haven't even done this myself. I haven't honestly had the time, but I want to know what startups exist that are preparing for this AI security, different testing. I've checked out different open source projects and things like that. But if you understand how to red team AI systems, if you understand um, how AI systems work, you can use it to your advantage just in regular security, right? Because I guarantee that it's going to be part of penetration test scopes coming up, right? Is test our AI system, see if you can poison our data, see if you can uh, get our LLM to do things that aren't part of the sandbox, right? So I think we're going to see a more need for security specialists that understand AI. So my advice is, and I'm going to say this with any technology, is don't be afraid of it. Run towards it, embrace it, learn how to use it like any other tool, and recognize that it's just a tool, not a replacement for you.
And that's a wise advice, and that's what we tell our interns as well. If you actually kind of play back the history, when computers were invented, everybody thought that now we don't need accountants, or because accountants were using calculators, but now computers are going to just fix everything. Didn't happen until today. I mean, think about it. The three departments, or three areas that people still have shortage are doctors, accountants, and lawyers. Now,
Yeah,
the next part is where we have seen an uptick in IT hiring in past 18 months, where IT hiring was being saturated and a lot of people were just hiring security people, but now it's going back to the IT. Are you a really good storage person? Are you a good compute person? Are you a good networking person? Because guess what? To run all of these AI, they need data centers. Data centers consume compute, storage, and networking. In order to run that, they need people. So we also have seen an uptick of where
They also have to be secure, by the way, too. Like, again, these
exactly.
security jobs aren't going away.
Yeah, so there is a traditional security or traditional IT jobs, and then you have the AI security or AI IT or AI operators. Those jobs are being created as well. So I think it's just exactly what you said, just to run towards it. The nature of what we know of IT, the jobs might, the function might change a bit, but I don't think so. AI is going to replace humans. It'll be just how we operate it. It used to be calculator, then it was computer, and now it's going to be a way to actually use AI. And that's where it is. At the end of the day, it's a tool to actually help mankind to do the task, hopefully seamlessly, and streamline the process that it takes for us to go from point A to point B. But at the end of the day, you still need people. You still need consumers at the end of the day to consume AI, and the consumers are going to always create a job opportunities. And that's
Yeah,
my
I
my.
mean,
Mhm.
I use Chat GPT all the time for Academy, right? And I've created custom GPTs and custom tools. I got about a dozen of them that I use for Academy. I'll be writing more about this. I want to post more about it on LinkedIn. But none of those tools are going to replace me or anybody on my team. But what they have done is they've increased the quality of the course that I'm able to put out by getting a second, third, fourth set of virtual eyes on things that I'm creating to give feedback, and it's helped me reduce the amount of time that it would take to do job task analysis interviews, right? If I'm creating a course where I want to understand what keys, knowledge, skills, and abilities somebody's coming out of that course with, well, generally I start by talking to somebody who's a subject matter expert on that thing. Well, that takes a long time, right? Trying to extract that information from that person, trying to set up that meeting, and then trying to analyze all that and put it down on paper. That could take me weeks just for a single interview. Now I can do multiple interviews, combine it with other written documentation, my experience, and have it all done in like, a week or less, just a couple days. Um, it's it's really interesting when you don't view AI as a threat and you view it more as a tool of what more you're able to accomplish and really expand and up level yourself too, especially the people that are watching this. You guys are most likely students that don't have a lot of time, like a lot of free time. So you should be analyzing areas of your life, not where AI can take over, but where it can help you get things done faster.
Yeah, Keith, in your course, the Foundation of AI Security, you also cover a lot of frameworks and standards pertaining to AI as well. Give us a little bit insights into that as well, so we can bring some attention to our interns as well.
Yeah, so I hopped through a bunch of slides there. If any of those looked interesting to you, go take the class because these are all pulled right out of the class. So there's a couple frameworks that I do discuss in the course. There's three main frameworks that I focus on. So we no four. Four. I'm going to count OWASP twice because there's two different OWASP things that we talk about. So first is the AI RMF, or the AI Risk Management Framework, put out by NIST. So this gives you just a framework for how to govern, map, and measure and manage AI systems and AI programs. And it goes deep into different things that you should consider when setting up an AI program, or an AI security program. And it's not just it's not, this is a very high level sort of managerial strategic overview of how you should build this program, and it's very flexible in how you actually do it. Where you get into the application, the hands-on of, well, this is the type of attack that we see in um, against an AI system. That's where you're going to find those things in OWASP and Atlas. So OWASP, you guys might be familiar with them. What is it? The Open Web Application Security Project. Um, so you might be familiar with them, the OWASP top 10, right, of top 10 application security vulnerabilities. Um, I'm sure you've seen them at some point. Well, they also put out a top 10 for large language models that's recently new, and they keep that updated, right, of the top 10 uh, types of attacks that you'll see with LLM models, but they also do it for machine learning too, because a lot of people forget machine learning is artificial intelligence, right? And there's things like facial recognition in camera systems that's part of machine learning that is AI. And we now when people hear AI, they always kind of go to the LLM and they think, okay, the large language models are AI, but they're not. I mean, they are, but so is machine learning and this other stuff. So OWASP put out a top 10 list for that as well. And we get into that in the class and the different things that are in there. And then there's Atlas. So if you guys are familiar with MITRE ATT&CK, and if you're not, we have a full course on MITRE ATT&CK, and you really, really, really should be familiar with MITRE ATT&CK at this point in cybersecurity. The MITRE ATT&CK course we put out is much shorter than this AI course. It's like an hour and a half long. It's a real good primer on understanding the foundations of MITRE ATT&CK, right? Well, they built Atlas, which is the attack framework for AI, where it's based on tactics, techniques, and procedures that are used against AI systems. Now, there's projects that are kicking off that may end up integrating Atlas directly into attack, or it may be a separate system. But what I can tell you, just because of Attack IQ's involvement with MITRE ATT&CK and or MITRE Ingenuity and the Center for Threat Informed Defense is that they do have ongoing projects to increase Atlas and make to add more real world use cases to it, to add more data to it. They've even, and I don't even know if I have it in this class because it didn't exist at the time, but they created a project where you can submit AI events and go through. And I don't know if they've had any submitted yet that they've published, but they eventually would like to publish these anonymized versions of these reports just so we can understand the real world. But in terms of AI, the existing frameworks that I'm aware of for security are the NIST AI RMF, or the AI Risk Management Framework, the OWASP Top 10 for LLMs, the OWASP Top 10 for machine learning, and the MITRE Atlas framework. So those are good starts when we're looking at AI security. Something else I want to bring up too that I noticed when doing the research for this course is if you treat an AI system the same way as you treat like a software pipeline or any sort of any supply chain, right? It's attacked in the same way that a supply chain attack occurs. They try and get as close as they can to the origin of the supply chain, right? And if you can infect that, you can infect multiple things. So you see different attacks like poisoning the training data, poisoning the model, using a fake model, trying to steal the model, all sorts of things that would be done as part of like a supply chain attack. So there are like a lot of traditional security elements that we need to think about that can be applied to AI that a lot of people in AI, the data scientists, the programmers, the AI specialists, don't fully understand security. We may be able to bring some of this traditional stuff into it for them as well. So I think what we're going to see is these frameworks, particularly Atlas and OWASP. I think we're going to see those stay and expand. I don't know what's going to happen with the AI RMF. But we're also seeing kind of versions of this pop up around the world. There was another one done in Europe that I can't remember. That was done after this course was put out as well. Um, I believe it was done after this course was put out. But those, if you start there with what I just gave you, the OWASP Atlas and what you're seeing on the screen, the NIST AI RMF, you're going to have a pretty good comprehensive understanding of what the security landscape looks like for AI. Then you can start diving into the specific things.
And this could be the edge that, again, if BTF members you're listening to this one, this could be the edge that you have over those who are not actually embracing AI. Because with this one now, this is the step towards the security of AI. This is step towards where you are the security professional who actually help organizations with the AI threats and all. So again, as Keith mentioned, all of these frameworks, as you start embracing it, reading it, learning it, and hopefully helping the organizations that you work for, this will be something that a new skill that you will add on your resume and be able to actually have an edge over others who don't have embraced AI. So again, as you're hearing Keith going through it, and as you go through the academy course, security fundamentals AI from Keith, this will help you actually get skilled, but also give you a path to actually continue learn and pretty much like add those AI related skills in security on your resume as well.
Yeah, I mean, AI in businesses isn't going away either. Like there were so many businesses that just dumped tons of money on AI projects that they're not about to abandon. And they're if you come in and the CISO or the CTO or whoever has this big AI project that they have to work on or they are a part of, and you can speak to what you know about AI security, woo that's huge because not a lot of people can at this point. Yeah, there's not there's a lot of people who are wanting to get into security, but there's not a lot that are that can speak the language of AI just yet.
Yeah, there's almost like a pollination what like 10, 20 years ago we talked about, where who are understanding security and can speak business language, they are the unicorns and everybody wants to hire them. I think in next 5, 10 years, that's what's going to be people who know traditional security or know fundamentals of traditional security, but also now know AI security and can speak to that language. I think you will be picked up and get hired faster than the others.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, it if I've got two candidates coming to me, even if I don't have an AI project going on, right? But if I'm the CISO or a security manager, and I've got two candidates that come to me that all things are equal, but one of them has their foot in the door and knows AI stuff, I'm probably going to lean towards that one because I know that there's going to be AI projects coming down the pipeline. At the very least, I know that the vendors that I'm using are going to be putting AI stuff into their projects or into their products. And I want somebody on my staff who's knowledgeable about that, who can ask them questions about it and help me understand how it works. Um, so I want to talk a little bit about how AI risks do differ because I mentioned how they're the same, but also how they differ from traditional risk, right? Um, so some things that we don't normally think about when we think about security. And remember, what we do ultimately is harm reduction, right? We want to reduce the harm being done to people, to systems, to property, to whatever. So we're trying to do harm and risk reduction. Um, so something to keep in mind is that the data used to create, to create any sort of AI system may have been biased, right? And if that biased data is used to make decisions, that can unfairly, uh, unfairly do things to certain people, have unfair results for certain people. AI system relies on more complex data to learn and improve, right? So there's just a ton, the amount of data is, again, companies are buying nuclear power plants in order to process this amount of data, right? So the amount of data is something that we've never really had to deal with before. Also, any changes made during its learning phase can drastically change how an AI system behaves. Remember how I talked um, thinking of it as a security pipeline or as a supply chain pipeline, right? If I if I can infect a computer or a set of chips, even like let's go even further back in the pipeline. If I can infect a set of chips with something that get into computers that get out there, like I can cause so much more damage that way than I could have in other places, in other ways, getting in later, right? So the same thing can be done for AI. If you the models that we're used to that we play with, they've already been through their learning phases. So anything that's tampered with, we're not seeing it till now. Any biases that this thing has, we're not seeing it until now. Now, obviously, the team at OpenAI tested all of this stuff. At least we hope that they did, and they look for these things. But it's just another way that AI is different, right? Um, just having that change during its learning phase can drastically affect how the system behaves. The information that AI learns, that the information AI learns from, can quickly become outdated or irrelevant. So you can't necessarily trust AI systems, particularly those that don't have any sort of internet access. So if you're using a closed system like, oh, ChatGPT added in some internet access, but it's still off. And even then, and I don't want to pick on just ChatGPT because they're not the only model out there that gives irrelevant information, but wrong data can still cause problems.
And I think that that's something, again, as security professionals are getting into this side, they can also evangelize. They can also help organizations and businesses to understand that don't literally just copy paste everything that comes out of LLMs and chat GPTs of the world, where this could be a disinformation, misinformation, and that has trickle down effect on the organization if that actually gets. Imagine a decision made by CFO on a forecast or something that actually brings the whole company down because that information was not validated. Maybe CFO was in a rush, and again, the whole company is closed now because that information was not validated and it was just copy paste from the Chat GPT or similar models.
And so you just brought up another unique problem to AI too, is over reliance on AI is an actual vulnerability that businesses face, is if they have, and we've even seen this in some humans too. I heard a story, or I read a story, so third-hand information of somebody who went to go interview a young man, and um the young man he interviewed with, had lunch with him, he couldn't string like his thoughts together. It was just kind of like popcorn words. And the young man that he was speaking to explained to him, he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I've been using Chat GPT for everything, emails, text messages, everything, right? He's over relied on ChatGPT. He's rented out his brain to something else. But that's one type of over reliance, or the over reliance like you explained, right? Where wrong data is coming down, nobody checks it because they assume that the AI is correct, and then it causes major problems. There was an attorney that filed some motion that he let ChatGPT write for him. He got, I don't know if he lost his law license, but I do remember him getting pretty heavily sanctioned by the judge for it.
Yeah, and we have heard and seen the stories as well, where, hey, can we use AI for my interviews? Can we use AI to actually answer the interview questions? And absolutely, you can get prepared, but don't just rely directly copy paste. Like if you're in a interview, know your data, know your content, and at the end of the day, if you don't know the answer, be honest. And we talk about the creative ways of actually giving responses to those questions where you don't know it, but just typing or doing a text to speech to or speech to text to chat gpt, getting those answers, that's not the way to go, because at the end of the day, again, that is a risk. You are playing with your career, and maybe the interviewer will figure it out. A lot of the threat hunting teams right now in major corporations, they also have spun off one of the teams, or spun off a department where they look at the content and they can detect if this was generated by AI. In education sector, that has been something that the problem, like when the whole chat gpt came up, but now they all solved it. Now universities, colleges, schools, they have AI detection mechanisms where they can detect if the data was generated by, or the essay was generated by generative AI, and they can actually not give you credit. So again, to back to your problem, or back to your statement about risk, this is a risk of using AI irresponsibly. You, as the professional who's getting into this industry, or who have been in the industry and trying to get career advancement, know how to use AI responsibly, and that is a risk that you have to bear as well.
Yeah, I my suggestion to people is, give OpenAI the data you want it to work with, or whatever the AI system you want to, even if you're using locally with Llama or something, right? Um, give the AI model the data you want it to work with, and then verify the results that come out. Remember, you're still the expert. This is just a tool that's used to help you. Um, some other things that we want to think about too, in terms of how it differs from traditional risk. AI systems are extremely complex with potentially billions of decision making points, adding complexity beyond what's found in typical software, right? You can't just go, oh, well, it's this line of code is bad and it's going to cause this thing. That doesn't necessarily exist with this. Using already developed AI models can speed up research and enhance performance, but it also brings uncertainties and challenges in ensuring fairness and accuracy. Um, there's a if you're familiar with it, there's a repository of models out there called Hugging Face and training data. They're like the Git for AI models and training data. But even in there, you have to be careful. There's been plenty of models out there that are malicious. There's just stuff out there that's if you don't know what it is, again, don't necessarily install it on a system you want to work on. But because people do share the models, and there are popular models on there, and there's signals you can look for which models are good and which models are bad. Uh, it does help speed up the service thing. Here's one of my biggest things. Just when I'm trying to develop with AI, I see this a lot, but it's also a problem in terms of security. It's really tough to predict when AI is going to fail. And it really does feel like just at a certain point, almost like a human, at a certain point, it just gives up and it's just like, you know what, I'm done with thinking for the day. I'm just gonna make up answers from this point on. So you really have to, it's just another thing that makes it more difficult to be secure about. You have to validate outputs and things like that in order to try and help with that. AI also has the ability to pull together lots of data, which raises concerns about privacy, right? Think about how much easier open source intelligence gathering is now, but also think about how much more easier it is to make inferences about people that you as a human might not be able to do, but an AI system who can take in hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of data points can make inferences about people that could lead to concerns about privacy. Things that you wouldn't be able to necessarily make as a human just because you can't correlate all those data points.
Keith, I'm interested in one thing. As you developed this course and you did some research and looked at different things, when it comes to AI, the practical use is already there. But we have also seen where AI failed organizations or people or personal lives. One of the use cases that we at VTF have been exploring in the research department, where if AI can help students or professionals consume large amount of information in a shorter amount of time, do you think that something will be a future ongoing where, like attention span, we talk about it, where people don't have attention span for more than 15 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever that is? Do you think that's where AI will help, like whatever the large amount of data or large amount of information, it'll be able to compress it to whatever the time we wanted, and that will be the new something that's a way of consuming information, like whatever the data you have it, I can break it down to bite size using an AI, and that's how I consume it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, when it comes to learning and development, it very well could be like that, right? In fact, Google, I forget the name of the tool, but they put out, and you can search for it, they put out a tool that basically lets you um, give it sources to use, and it'll use AI to create a full course for you. Um, what's that? No, it's not. I mean, it may be tied into Notebook LLM, but this is a separate thing that they have. Um, they also have another tool another tool that's a part of this course creation tool that lets you add it, like give it a URL or PDF of a complicated topic. So I did it with this when I was trying to learn some sort of AI system. And you give it that, and it creates like a 5-minute podcast for you, where the host discuss that topic in a way that's easy to understand. So I think there's ways. I don't know that shortening is necessarily the answer, right? Because you can't say, okay, well, any topic that I need to learn, I need you to teach that to me in 15 minutes, because different topics require varying lengths. But what you can do is use the AI to maybe find ways to take a very large topic and break it down into a way that's easier for your brain to digest, or give it to you, transpose it in a way that's easier for your brain to digest. That's why, like when we create academy courses, that's why we make sure we have good audio so that at the very least you can hear me saying things. We do written textbooks of the things that we're saying. We do closed captions so you can see exactly what we're saying on the video. And then we have videos for for the visual learners, because I recognize that people learn all sorts of different ways. We also do things like introduce labs. And I'm even using one of the AI chat GPT custom GPTs that I built was a storytelling GPT that takes my script for whatever course we're doing, and it looks for ways to inject a story throughout, like an actual story that you would, maybe not watch on TV or pay for, but one that is mildly entertaining and it's enough to keep you interested and help you learn the material at the same time. So I think we're going to see AI being used in ways that makes information easier to digest, and I think it goes beyond just that giving it to us in smaller doses.
All right, I think we're towards the wrap of this webinar, and again, for everybody, you'll see the link to Academy course Foundation of AI Security in the comment section. Keith, as we're wrapping up this webinar, to our students, to our interns, to our community, what can you give them information or almost like a key takeaway, how to embrace AI for their career, for their student life? How can they embrace AI?
So let me start by saying get excited about it if you're not. Um, find something about AI that excites you, because that's what's going to drive you to go through, right? If the security aspect of AI is what uh, what gets you excited, then chase after that. If developing something with AI gets you excited, then chase that down. If learning how models are built and trained or the supply chain is exciting to you, chase that down. But find something to be excited about with AI, go after that thing and learn it, because AI is not going anywhere. Businesses have spent too much money. The the genie is out of the bottle, as they say, right? Like, this is like when the internet went public. We're not going back to something different, right? Or when broadband came out over dial up, right? Nobody got broadband from dial up and said, "Man, I really miss that dial up," and then went back. I think we're at that point with AI. So find a way to be excited about it, just as excited as you are about security or whatever technology you're studying, and find ways to incorporate AI into your study. And have fun with it. Like, um, I, aside from just doing it and using it at work and using it professionally, I like to find fun ways to incorporate AI into my life. I'll show ChatGPT, and maybe you don't want to show him pictures of whatever, but I show him my closet, and I say, help me figure the temperatures. What's the temperature today? Okay, great. Now help me figure out what to wear today, and it'll look at my closet and help me pick out an outfit, because I think that's fun. Not necessary, but it's fun. Or I used what was it? Sonos or something like that. There's some AI app that lets you create music. Suno. Um, I use that. I spent $10 for a month subscription and I canceled. It was fun, right? So have fun with it, because that's what is going to keep you learning. If you don't like it, if you're bored with it, if you feels like you're like choking it down every time you're trying to learn it, then you're never going to learn it.
Excellent. Again, you will have access to Foundations of AI Security in the comments. You will be there, and you'll be able to claim 1 CPE for today's webinar, and I think 5 or more CPEs from the course as well. So with that, Keith, again, once again, thanks so much for coming to this webinar and talking to our VTF community.
Of course. And yeah, hit me up on LinkedIn if you have questions. Preferably, I like to answer course questions in public if we can. But if you have questions that you don't want necessarily to be in public, you can always email us at academy@attackiq.com. And Victor, I know you and your staff there always are happy to help answer questions as well.